Hello, everyone! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Weekend Frivolity. This is our funny little show we do on the weekends called the Broiler Chicken Show. Why do we call it the Broiler Chicken Show? I don't know. Sounds like a good name. It just goes to show that whatever you're trading in this world doesn't really matter. I was an old commodities broker, prop trader. I've been trading this crazy market for decades now. One product that they used to try and get to market, but that just would never stick, was broiler chickens. But anyway, I digress. Welcome back to the fun. This is an interesting week. I guess the past couple weeks, in that we're in between terms, so school terms that is, and actually we're just coming up on the end of a registration period for our fall term. So I can see that the support department at TRI has been going like basically in overdrive right now, as a lot of the new people to trading are getting sort of settled in on the site, and new people have just recently registered for the school. And actually what I'm seeing, which is very interesting, I never thought of this before, but I suppose we'll be seeing this more and more. Well, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know. But I guess the report I'm hearing is that a lot of third-party people buy the course and the education for others, maybe hoping that they can change, loved ones' fates. I do know we have one gentleman out of Southern California. It's so funny. All of his buddies have been rooting for him to somehow turn into a profitable trader. And they keep buying him the course. It's adorable. But anyway, anyway, so this is kind of a fun week. It's actually what I've been doing is kind of going through the course material. I also have to move at the end of the month, so local buddy of mine here, which you guys have seen lots of. If you ever see my my Twitter feed, actually I think he's in here somewhere. I think it was like Aaron. I don't know how you do the media thing. I thought there was like a button here that you can just load up your pictures that you've done. Oh yeah, here it is. But a while ago, I guess, quite a while ago now. Aaron, who's a principal over at UBIC, and I think the world of the guys over at UBIC. And he does a lot of sort of local adventures around here in the Lower Mainland. He and I and a local buddy, Andrew, went climbing up a mountain here recently in the Lower Mainland. We live in a lot of mountains. Anyway. So the guy that climbed the mountain, I was kind of hoping I could show you, but man, it's so difficult to pull out these darn pictures quickly. Anyway, he and I we're going to set up the most ultimate, awesomest trading pit in BC. Man, this place is going to be so tricked out. So it's kind of a fun, you don't often in life actually get permission. When you're really young, you get permission, but you don't often have a lot of money to be able to do this. And then when you're older, you got family and those kind of obligations, so you can't go and like trick out the living room to be like the ultimate trading pit. That's against the rules. But because of my funny personal circumstances, and as fate would have it for Andrew, I think we have an opportunity here to just create that coolest trading platform experience ever. There he is. So Andrew and I, he's got a really cool pad and pretty close. But anyway, so at the end of the month I have to move, and wish me luck on that. So I might be a little bit scatterbrained over the next month anyway. And also, too, oh boy, this week I've got big meetings with the government people about, of course, the fate of Liam. And what the hell is Brian's plan here? Because literally, I've told you all before. And, you know, if anything, the great part about watching a clown like me is I'm an open book. I'm not going to bullshit you. So you probably tune in and you go, yep, all right, he's picking up right where he left off last time he was barking away. So our big objective into the end of the year, and it's my life objective kind of thing, is I gotta get Liam a house. He deserves. He's 21 years old. He has severe autism. In fact, actually, I think I showed you a page here. And I don't really like to promote it. You know, TRI is TRI, and it is a partnership, and I'm a minority interest owner in TRI. So TRI does very well. I mean, TRI is not going to buy Liam his house. That's for damn sure. But, you know, I've actually had people reach out and say, you know, Brian, you know, TRI aside, you know, great, you know, do the school, whatever. Is there any way I can help Liam out personally? And actually, my personal Facebook page, and actually, I have to upload, and I forgot to do that. I have the coolest picture that Liam and I just took last week in the mountains. And I have this personal Facebook page, and that's where I put sort of Liam's information. If you want to help Liam out with to get that towards that house, fucking amen. Hugs and kisses to you all. I love you dearly for that sentiment. And there have been quite a few people, not so much lately, but I don't really advertise this, and I'm not promoting this, but you know, I have had people actually ask me, Brian, how can I help Liam directly? I don't give a shit about TRI. How can I help Liam? And so that's what that is. So you know, if you want to look into that further, please feel free to you know, pop on over to my Twitter page or my own personal Facebook page. You know, this school, number one, we pretty much give this damn education program away. $1,000 to fucking change your lives. I mean, excuse my French, but it's that serious. I mean, it's ridiculous, especially in this world where $1,000 really doesn't mean that much money anymore. So, but at the same time, too, you know, I'm a minority interest owner in TRI. I'm basically one of the staff. I get paid an annual salary, and of course, you know, we got Seward and his tech department to pay for, and of course all the school employees. So we're not making a fortune off of this. The whole purpose of this place was to make that positive difference in the world and really affect change. Get as many people educated. You know, you could call it the TRI process if you want. You can call it the Beamish nonsense. I don't give a shit. Oh, I don't want to swear again. Let's try and stop the swears, Brian. I don't give a poop. What I want is I just want you all to learn this, right? Just get in there and learn it. So anyway, that program has got about another day and a half. I can put this link in the Broiler Chickens video thing here. And I can also do it in the descriptions. I think we also have it. Hey, hello, DD. Don't know who DD is. That says join therationalinvestor.com. Is that right? Yeah, okay, cool. So anyway, and I can put that in the description and stuff like that. I mean, the bottom line here is David Eisner, our sort of chief marketing guy when it comes to these programs, he put together this page. And I have to say, I mean, it's very eloquent. It's very articulate. It's very TRI. It is what we do, and it really expresses the message clearly. So just be forewarned, this program is ending in about a day or so. So if you are interested in getting in there and building your effective small business of trading, we're running a business here. We expect to make a profit from our business. Nobody goes into business to lose money. You want to get going on that, you seriously are serious about this, well, you got about a day and a half left to register, and then once it's done, it's done. So, you know, FYI there. And we really don't like admitting people midterm. I don't think it's in your best interest. We got a lot of people a month or so in go, hey, can I join? Yeah, no, I'm totally hip. I'll play catch up. No. If anything, that's exactly why most people fail at investing, is that they try to take shortcuts. They try to cut corners. They try to cheat the system. You can't game this, people. This is a skill that you're learning. And if it takes a year or two for you to learn the skill, I mean, the process is the process. It hasn't changed in like hundreds of years. It's exactly the same as when W.D. Gann was playing the game. Getting it. Hey, hell, he didn't even get price charts in the mail. They didn't even have price charts then. He had to write all his own price charts. But the process didn't change. It's exactly the same. They used to call it the book method way back then. How to how to plot price charts on cocktail napkins. So that's what this is all about. It's just you gotta learn the process. Right? Learn the process. And then the interesting thing is, once you learn the process and all this sort of, the eating your vegetables and the candy store and all that, then this world actually starts to make a heck of a lot of sense. What you actually see happening. Why did Bitcoin become so popular when it did? It makes sense once you get that process stuff learned. So, no more pitch about that, but long and short of it here is you got about a day and a half left, and then once the school doors are closed, you're going to have to wait till the new year. Actually getting ready for the school, we had a meeting with the TAs recently, and it was very constructive. And ironically enough, it was Kevin's suggestion. So thank you, Kevin, for suggesting that, because actually it was a great meeting. Long overdue. It was great for a lot of the TAs to all talk to each other and program instructors and stuff. And they actually created a list of documents. Well, Brian, you asked for it. This is what's wrong with the course. This, and this. It's like, oh man. So I'm feverishly working away, just updating slides and trying to get better links and stuff for material that's in the course. And by all means, instructors, TAs and stuff, and even old students, if you happen to go, oh yeah, I remember level 1, that link was totally broken. But actually I'd found this link and it worked better. If you want to share that stuff, please feel free now. So we might as well set these new students up, and anybody moving on in the level 2 and level 3, might as well set you guys up to succeed, right? So PMA for the win. That's a lot of what I'm doing right now. So you probably noticed, anybody who follows my Twitter feed and stuff, I was like banging out these really odd sort of macroeconomic charts this morning. And that's sort of what that's all about. Keep in mind the level 1ers, they got their eating their vegetables part of the program coming up pretty soon here. So that we have to be able to articulate this message here clearly, what the hell's going on. I might even spend some time, although in the weeks coming down the pike here, we'll be talking more about this. But, I was interested even just to pull up this study here this morning, comparing the performance of various different asset classes over this past baby boomer fear cycle and them exiting the system. And, what were the relative preferences, if you will, within the marketplace. And this also is takes into account, which is something actually I wasn't able to really teach in earnest previously, but this actually takes into account the dilution of the US dollar and currency, cash itself, by the 1%, all that nonsense. And in essence, with the ability to actually look at the currencies and then look at the currencies relative to the dilution, you can really see who actually got hurt the most here out of this entire past 20 years. I mean, our standard of living, and I've talked to you guys about this before, I used to, around here, I used to go and buy a Subway sandwich, 6-inch tuna on cheese for $2.50. You go to Subway to buy that sandwich today, and it's a good $6, $7, $8. So what a beautiful illustration of the asset that actually has been hurt the most this cycle. It's actually been cash. It's fascinating, eh? And of course, this is all commentary of in the bigger picture, in the bigger scheme of things, convincing the world hegemony currency at the time, the U.S. And the U.S. dollar, convincing them to buy into this debt-based money system, and them capturing the U.S. Money system in 1913. Devil from Jekyll Island, I think the book was famously called. And of course, Woodrow Wilson giving the banksters the permission to take over the system in earnest, and them sort of weaseling their way into the system and taking over and creating this debt-based system that basically we are in essence slaves now, because this debt will never be paid back. And we are now literally just living off of all of our tax dollars. Everything goes towards just, number one, maintaining the slavery system. So a huge amount of money goes into the military complex to maintain that system. And then number two, any revenues, tax revenues that quote unquote, well, you pay your taxes because you're helping society, blah, 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 which is nonsense. It goes straight towards just paying the interest on all this debt that will never be paid back. And sadly, we're actually now, we just went through, ironically enough, the period of time where bonds and debt itself actually should have done really, really well. But because we live in this deficit world where we can't stop spending more money than we have, and of course the banksters trying to reinforce that state of slavery, they love that. I mean, it's perfect. This slavery will never end. And ironically enough, like I said, we just went through a period of lower interest rates. Remember, this is all cyclical. What happens when we go through a period of rising interest rates? And even, 1960s, 1970s, that was a fantastic analogy of interest rate cycle tops. I mean, it will probably get to the point where we can't even pay the interest payments on the debts. That's going to be a really interesting time for our society. That's probably where the rubber really hits the road. And it's what I find fascinating is, like a country like Canada, for example, we're a commodity country. So when the commodities were doing relatively well, Canada should have been paying down its debt and setting itself up to have a nice, firm, strong currency if, of course, Canada was operating in Canada's best interest. But no, Canada, of course, has run deficits through this entire commodity cycle. Now commodity prices are going to top out and probably head down for 10, 15 years here now. And what does Canada do through that? Keep in mind, last commodity bear cycle, this country almost broke apart. Right? The final vote of the referendum was 51-49. That was a little bit finesse there. That was a lucky win. And it's interesting. The guy that's representing Quebec in the Canadian political system right now, it's so funny because the rest of Canada, I mean, there's some really weird stuff going on with this country right now. I was looking at a statistic this morning, and it said that more than 51% of Canada's population is not English, not Irish, not Scottish, not French, not Chinese, not Indigenous people, Native Americans. So I'm going, well, then who the hell is it? More than half of this country is not who we think it is. Part of the statistic was they're not even Canadians. It's like, who the hell are these people? I mean, I don't know, man. There's some weird stuff going on in my country right now, I tell you. And that's the worst part about it, right? Is that this is the end of the cycle. I mean, this is as good as it gets for Canada. So I don't know how good or bad it's going to get here, but hey. But there was this really interesting statistic, but I guess I didn't save it. It's fascinating. I couldn't believe it. More than 50% of Canada is not Canadian. There are other people. They, and they even had like Chinese was part in there. Anyway, I'll go on. It doesn't matter. It just, when I find it, I'll tweet it out. It shocked me. But anyway, so point of the matter here is, if there was one image that clearly demonstrated the effect of quantitative easing in this world, it is this image here, the value of cash. I mean, the value of cash, or basically the purchasing power. Keep in mind, have our wages made this kind of exponential move? Keep in mind, like that's what is that? That's 0.00, like that number right there. Looks like it says, let's say 0.004, right? So 10x from there is, these levels here, that's 0.025. So that's like, it's literally like 5x, and that's that Subway sandwich, right? $2.50 up to $10, that would be 5x. And the poor guy, that, oh my goodness, oh my damn. I mean, the guy, I couldn't believe it. He was, and I'm sure the price has even gone up even further, but I was tweeting out, the guy now pays like $20, $30 for a fucking hamburger in the United States of America. It's like, wow. Boom! Just like that. They totally screwed us. Couldn't believe it. And it's kind of sad, I've said this repeatedly, like in a country like Canada here, there is no local industry here in Vancouver. None. There's no local industry here. The only industry we had, which ironically enough has been absolutely decimated because of the sickness, is tourism. I mean, basically they call BC bring cash, and a lot of it. Taxes are insane here. Cost of living's through the roof. Oh, well, what can you do? And now, if commodity prices, if this commodity cycle is actually over and we have to go through 15, years or so of actually a commodity bear here, oh God, that's going to kill this local economy. So the question is, what is BC actually founded on? How can they justify these high prices? It's only one word. Actually, two words, right? Real estate and real estate development. Now, what happens if maybe the buying power to keep the bubble inflated disappears? I thought it was interesting over in China right now. They're actually starting to talk a little bit about the credit bubble potentially popping here. I think Winnie's plan, the Belt and Road and all that, 2025, I think Winnie's plan is not to pull the plug until that is done. But man, once the Chinese are like, okay, well, we're done with our central plan, excessive build out, prop the market up. This was our, plan. At the end of that event, man, look out, because the Chinese are notorious for just pulling the floor out from underneath the market and the whole damn thing collapses. So there were a couple warning shots. I don't know where to show you that. I don't want to show other people's YouTube pages and stuff like that and get into trouble. A guy now by the name of the Bond King, I think it is. He was doing a video about some interesting. Something like $300 billion in bad debt. And the government looks like they're going to come in and just bail this company out. So, in essence, they're having their sort of Lehman Brothers event here. And if anything, it's a good analogy that stock markets don't crash and they don't fall apart unless governments let them fall apart. So for instance, for example, this period right here, this top, and then into Obama's new presidency, right? He took office basically right there, right at the bottom of the market. Hey, Merry Christmas. But Mr. Bush was totally in charge. And he could have very easily come out and said, it's a national crisis. We got to stop the bear market. we got to go in and bail out all these financial institutions. But they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. Right? And I think you can make the argument, same thing with 87. Right, here's 87. Everybody calls this, the crash of 87, it wiped people out. I could tell you right now, this stopped right here because Alan Greenspan came out and said, you want credit? We'll take interest rates to zero. You can have as much money as you want. And instantly the market stopped going down and went straight up. Actually, it's interesting with the anniversary of 9/11. I'm reminded about how horrible. Number one, how horrible that event was, but also number two, it's fascinating how we went from, because, I don't even know whether many of you even remember this time period, but, I was in my 20s. Of course, I turned 30 right here and had Liam, so huge event for me in my life. It's interesting how this is basically Liam's, and all the way out here, but this is basically Liam's life. And then, of course, poor JoJo. She, I guess she ran out of steam right there. Poor girl. So, it's interesting that we won't be in this kind of environment in the stock market until the sort of second half of this growth cycle. Right now, I think we're probably in this part right here. And what's interesting is I wouldn't be surprised if this actually equates to that 2025 China, building out, what are they calling it? Belt and Road or something like that. And you're going to actually have the stock market just like melt up here as China jacks the system. That's exactly what they did in Hong Kong. And it's exactly what they did with the, notice, I have to be curious, what country hosted the Summer Olympics right here? Right there. And what happened following that event? Do you think that was a coincidence? I don't. I can tell you that for sure. So, there's two different parts. And what's interesting about this part, this is a funny part because, ironically enough, this is what killed Senior Bush's presidential aspirations. Was through here, actually, they had the popular refrain was stagflation. And ironically enough, what it was the last final gasps of the Soviet Union. And then when the Soviet Union collapsed, then we went into basically deflationary spiral. But it's just interesting. Through here, this was tough, right? And Bush had to raise taxes. And, of course, people were very angry about that. And he couldn't get reelected, blah, blah, blah. So, and also, too, this is another great analogy. What do we say about recessions? Usually they happen in years that end in like 7s, 8s, 9s, 0s, 1s, and 2s kind of thing. So basically all in this area. Of course, we all know, 9/11 was 9/11 encouraged. I'm not going to say that the West purposefully did it, but I think the West knew it was coming. And they did nothing to prevent it. In fact, actually, I remember distinctly when Clinton was president, there was actually an attempt to try and bomb the World Trade Center, and they took out like literally 2 or 3 stories of the underground parking underneath the World Trade Center. But the building they didn't understand the way the building was built, that wouldn't have made any difference. But the irony of it all is that there was people in the 1990s that were taking a stab at the World Trade Center. Point here is, whether it was encouraged or whether it was led to happen, it happened, blah, blah, blah. And ironically enough, they often say that the easiest way to get out of a recessionary period, remember we said years that end in 8s, 9s, 0s, 1s, and 2, there's going to be some sort of recession in here. So the easiest way to get out of that recession is to actually engineer a war economy, and literally spend your way out of the problem. The only problem there, of course, is the United States of America couldn't really afford that. So what ended up actually happening, you could make the argument that the whole war on terror and all that, that was sort of they were setting the stage for this quantitative easing nightmare that we're in right now. All right, if we actually look at the valuations of assets, here we are here. So it's fascinating that, there is the year 2000 .com peak valuation-wise. So, yes, there is the correction in raw terms that we talked about, and that's that move down there. But notice, as the market was pushing up into this peak here, right? Show me new high, and I'm such an awesome president. You can see that's this peak here. We're nowhere near those old highs. So, fascinating that through the whole war on terror, this was actually all kind of a lie. Hate to say it. The U.S. housing bubble, right? And everybody getting rich. Lost another loan to Ditech. General Motors, right? And GMAC Credit. The king of cars. I don't know if you guys remember all that. That was all through this period. And, of course, it was a lie. We were actually nowhere near new highs. So this whole quantitative easing thing has actually been going on through the whole damn cycle. That's the fascinating thing about this. Everybody's wrapped up in quantitative easing here at the end of this, but you have to understand that this has been going on, like literally for the better part of 20 years. And when I was a prop trader right here, I remember the guys that I used to work with on the floor, they fucking hated Alan Greenspan. They literally had a poster that they passed around. Brandon Rigo, he used to send it to me. And it was a picture of Alan Greenspan and one of those most wanted posters from the Wild West. I think he lived in Colorado or, I don't know whether it was Utah. Maybe it was Colorado. And it was like, most wanted dead or alive. So fascinating that the floor traders, they all knew. They saw this coming. They knew what the damn banksters were doing all along there. Which is so sad. Anyway, so point of the matter here is, this has been going on a long time. This is a great analogy. Actually, you know what? This is, I'm kind of just rambling here today. Maybe I should stop. I don't know. What I wanted to show you was, and actually we were this is interesting because I'm not quite sure how to deal with this because, you like that content, eh? Fascinating. So it doesn't sound like I'm bullshitting you. You guys are actually buying this shit? Just kidding. The funny thing is man, these damn banksters, they make our lives so difficult. How are you supposed to figure out what's real and what isn't? I mean, that's what drives you crazy. So, this is an interesting image. We had a guy on the site, of course. He was the one actually who first used the term bankster, and I used to bug him about it and stuff. But now you hear that I use the term all the time. So it's fascinating in this part of the cycle now. He sure is looking wise with the crime acts and all that kind of stuff, right? So, and if anything, it's a great analogy. That at the end of the day, the only thing that matters in this stupid world is he who's got the biggest gun and who's holding the gun. And make no mistake about it, and this is a mistake that I made a lot of my life, is for some stupid reason I actually assumed that us living in the West, that we were actually the good guys. Don't remember I was born and raised in Southern California during the Cold War. I remember my sister's boyfriend, his dad worked on the B-1 bomber project down in Southern California. It's either the B-1 or the B-2. And he literally could not talk about his work when he came home from work. And I remember I went to Dapple Gray Junior High. I mean, what a typical sort of snob white, WASP, kind of, suburban Los Angeles kind of environment, dapple gray. I always found that so amusing. Like my next door neighbor, when he was a kid, because he grew up in Palos Verdes, he actually rode a horse to school. He used to tell us all the time. Anyway, so, when you're young, you sure are susceptible to the brainwashing. Sadly, and I really, interestingly enough, because keep in mind, I was a part of the Canadian brokerage industry, and I knew all the sort of shenanigans and stuff that the brokerage industry does. But I'll tell you, my adventure here within the crypto space, and especially, like learning and watching that Money Masters video. Geez, you got to watch that at least 4 or 5 times just to figure out what the hell he's saying half of the video. That video alone, I would suggest, was one major reason why I've lost a lot of faith in sort of the system and what they're doing here in the West. And also, too, something that really bothered me immensely is if you look at Jerome Powell, something just does not look natural about this. This is just Brian talking out his butt, but seriously, something's just not right about this. This is just a couple years ago, right? And I don't even know how long ago that was. I mean, he looks relatively chipper, relatively young. I mean, relatively upbeat. You look at him now, and geez, he just looks like he's, kind of that old fuddy-duddy kind of look to him here. Like literally, the jowls, they start to get really deep, and, the muscles in his neck start to loosen and stuff. I tell you, man, I think this guy's aged so prematurely. It's shocking. And I see everybody who goes into senior U.S. government official positions. Like if you look at any president, it's shocking that they go in looking relatively young. Even Trump, I suppose. Mind you, he had his fun with Regeneron and all that. But, man, they look like they're put through the ringer. So it shocks me to see how much he's aged in just such a short period of time. And you look at the other one, what the hell's her name? When they're yelling, you should be. And really, the irony of it all is if you look at this image, this actually makes perfect sense. This image right here, because Janet Yellen, when did she become a U.S. I don't even know what fucking job she has. Was she Fed chair? I don't know. But interestingly enough, I think she came in here. So, when they're yelling, you should be what? And that would have been a pretty good idea if you were long U.S. dollars. Just get the fuck out of these things. They're garbage. So, how perfect is that? Yeah, when they're yelling, you should be. And man, look at this collapse here. I mean, this is stunning, right? That's 0.006, and now we're at 0.004. That's almost a 50% drop just here in the past year in the purchasing power of the currency. I mean, this is pathetic. We actually pay these people salaries to do this to us? And you wonder why people are so upset. Hey, Larry, you think it's bad in the United States? Fucking, maybe I should introduce you to Daryl and my other brother, Daryl. Right? My name's Larry, and this is my brother, Daryl, and this is my other brother, Daryl. Oh, my God. The leader of my country, Canada, he doesn't even give a fuck. He's literally like, well, the deficits will take care of itself. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. And his finance minister was caught in a total scandal. And why is nobody in this election talking about the fucking Wii scandal? I mean, this is ridiculous. They had him. They had Morneau. He was the finance minister just 2 or 3 years ago. They had him. They caught him. He was literally about to admit that he committed perjury and that he committed fraud and that he committed theft. And then all of a sudden, boom. Mr. Trudeau just dissolved the Canadian government. We're a dictatorship now. We don't need parliament. We don't need these inquiries. This is a waste of time. Mr. Morneau has quietly just disappeared. And there's Barbie. Barbie is, fucking in charge of the Canadian Finance Department. We got a part-time drama teacher who's leading the country, and we got Barbie with her Eastern European history degree running the finance department of my country. This is insanity. It is bona fide insanity. So, I mean, the irony of it all is that I look at you Americans, I don't even want to look at the Canadian dollar like this. I mean, oh my God, it must look like an absolute train wreck. Giuseppe, he got all pissed off at me. Somebody bailed. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely shocking. We've literally like turned into like a banana republic here. And the irony of it all is that we've got like, you know, basically double-digit price inflation, and the leader of the country doesn't care. He just doesn't care. Yeah, interesting, John. Good, interesting comment there, sir. Interesting comment. Yeah, you know, I was driving the bus around this place. Anyway, it was kind of funny. He came locally here to Vancouver, and he literally got chased out of the suburban neighborhoods. I mean, they literally were chasing him out of the city. It was just shocking. But, I mean, the irony of it all is that these democratically elected politicians, and this is Brian, just his opinion right now. I mean, let's call a spade, folks. Do you think that they have any power whatsoever? Do you think these democratically elected politicians, if they actually wanted to affect change, do you think they could? And that's the tragedy of all of this. It's kind of a bummer, but it's just a brutal reality. Our fates were put in stone in 1913. And the interesting thing is it's fascinating that the moment that they were able to take over, oh, interesting how a war all of a sudden started with Germany to knock them off their place. And literally, we have been in one form or another slaves of this entire system since Christmas of 1913. So that's over 100 years. You know, the tragedy of it all is that there was 45 million people that had to die in the late 1930s, early 1940s, because those same people tried to knock off the Soviet Union, and really the only check in our system to that banking cartel. I mean, that's how powerful these people are. They can literally affect the death of millions of people. I've told people about this, and if anything, you should look at this as edutainment. It's fun. I don't at any point espouse going to war with these people, because frankly, it's a waste of your time. You're gonna die. You're gonna lose your life if they don't, or if you happen to have a mortgage or credit card debt or anything like that, they'll make your life very, very uncomfortable. So I don't really recommend going to war with these people. There's nothing us little fish can do about it. But what I would suggest you do is, take plans. I mean, take appropriate measures. What's the one asset that's gone up appreciably through all of this that should kind of offset what's happening here? It's a no-brainer. That's why you're all watching me right now, probably. So, what we need to do is just, number one, don't have all your eggs in one basket. Just don't do that. Doesn't matter if it's the United States of America, or whether it's Klaus, or whether it's Christine Lagarde, or whether it's Vladimir Putin, or whether it's Winnie the Pooh over there in China, or whether it's Long Duck Dong. Actually, that was a guy from 16 Candles. It doesn't matter who. Just don't trust anybody 100% with all your money. You're just asking for trouble. So spread the jelly. That's half of the message that we try to convey at TRI, and I suppose it's a part of this kind of conversation. Is if you have a basket of all of these assets, ironically enough, in some periods of the market, like here, for example, here to here, commodities were all the rage, an insane bull market. And you'll notice that basically that same time period, stocks collapsed, growth collapsed. So, ironically enough, if you own 50% commodities and 50% growth assets, yeah, it's a zero-sum game. And I think that's probably the only way that us little fish can deal with all this craziness. And I have to say to you folks, understand this. As soon as the Fed is like, okay, enough with jazzing the system, we're going to start restricting credit, we're going to start reining the things in, then my hunch is a lot of these kind of like risk assets, especially things like Bitcoin right now, they're going to come back down to earth. Right. And again, if you are 100% all in on Bitcoin and crypto, through the bull, you look like a genius. Oh, look how I'm outperforming. Through the bear, I had people come on through that last Bitcoin bear and actually get angry at me, which I found fascinating through this last cycle here. We started, Julian and I started this site, and just as a demonstration, I said, so it was right about here. I'm going to take one school student's tuition. And at that time, we charged about $500 for a level 1 seat. And I'm going to try and turn this, and the challenge was I was going to try and turn this into $100,000 into the cycle peak. I don't know what the cycle peak was going to look like. It's just, my funny little, you buy something, when it doubles in price, sell half of it, put the money back on the sidelines, wait for it to bottom, maybe buy some more again, or maybe buy something else. When that doubles, sell half, and just keep doing it over and over and over and over. And sure enough, right through, I think it was right about here, I hit my $100,000 objective. And frankly speaking, at that point, I was done. I didn't really care what happened after that. I came to you and I said I was going to do this. I did it. I took the 100 G's out. In fact, I took about 130, 140 out just to make sure we can pay our taxes, blah, 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 blah. And that's actually, like my my biggest success over the past, since my wife passed away, really, sadly. But in my eyes, my biggest success, something that I can actually boast about, is this image right here. And the irony of it all is that this thing actually topped out at about $700,000 or $800,000. That was a ridiculous number. But I didn't really care. As soon as I hit that 100,000, I was like, well, that's what I said I was going to do, so I did it. And really, that's why it's pinned as my top of my moniker. Is I did what I said I was going to do, and I was very proud of myself for that. But I found it fascinating, right? Obviously I got my original $500 back, and I got, 100, 200,000 out of the market. And then I just left the rest of it. And I was like, I don't care what happens, just let it do what it's going to do. And sure enough, on the move down into here, everything basically went back to zero. So, and I think actually by here, the very bottom of the market, that account actually went all the way, what was left after I took the 130 out. Actually maybe closer to 150. It got down to about 20 or 30,000. So I mean, that's how bad the correction will be following this this blow off top here, folks. Please understand that. And the irony of it all is that you can see, this is cost of production. These are S17s and 19s at that time. So at this time, they were like, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6, 7, 8, 9s, whatever's. But hell, you can see the S17s and S19s right now. So they're just sitting there. It was interesting. I put this message out recently, and people were like, well, no, actually, the cost of electricity is quite a bit higher than what you're assuming. And then I had other people come out and say, well, no, actually, the cost of electricity is a lot lower than what people are quoting you, Brian. So I don't know. I mean, we'll just go with this number. I think, by all means, in the comments, you can say, well, no, Brian, I think that's way too low. But for Shane's model here, we're using a nickel US dollar a kilowatt kilowatt hour, I guess. I don't know what that is. And on the S19s, whoops, I got the wrong one here. S19s, yeah, nickel. So, like I said, some people said to me, hey, you know what, 2 cents an hour. Other people are like, no, that should be 10, 15. Regardless, I mean, even if the price was double this, that 6,800, that takes us here to 12, 13,000 OG with 78.6, 14,000. So, I mean, come on, guys. I hate having this conversation with you guys because I know a lot of people are going to go, no, Brian, this time it's different. That'll never happen again. And it's like, oh, Jesus, here we go. The problem that I have here, and I think I've shown you the guys this recently, is that, number one, I don't think the sickness has gone anywhere. I'm actually worried, and in a weird sort of way, maybe you can even see this off of this chart. Look how this trend line now, this is a high to high. Yeah, I think actually this trend line is now going to act as support. So, boom, boom. We jumped up above there. And I wouldn't be surprised if these bastards, they're going to want to try and keep the market contained within this. And, another whack of quantitative easing is going to take us up into that. That wouldn't surprise me. We'll see how this correction goes here. But I did find it interesting when I was looking at this. I just went boom, boom. Oh, interesting. Maybe not exactly right on. I mean, hell, we could probably even just go like that. But maybe like that. I don't know. It's a tough one. But I wonder, I do kind of like that thinking that, we might have another big whack of emergency spending. I think the IMF came out with a huge funding thing there a month or so ago, and that sort of stopped a slide. And I did hear recently that the Republicans are kind of balking a little bit now at Biden. Actually, not the Republicans, so even the Democrats are balking at the size of his stimulus package. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're trapped in something like this. Long and short of it here, though, V bottom, wicks and tails like to be eaten. I do definitely think at some point down the road we're going to have to trade down there. And I wouldn't be surprised, and this sucks, but I would not be surprised whatsoever if at some point we have to come down and check these kind of numbers down in here. We'll see how it goes. I mean, maybe that, wouldn't that be ironic? Because I started off this conversation with somebody had asked me recently, Brian, can you update your thinking on this? And we called this the Da Vinci Nightmare. Actually, maybe I can show you that. And I've been humming and hawing about what the heck is the 1%'s plan here. I don't know what the hell that notes page is. Anyway. So it was interesting that we popped up through the top of that megaphone and then came back down, and you can see the noticeable fight. Somebody clearly said, do not lose the top of that megaphone. If you do, we're in big trouble. It'd be interesting to see if there was quantitative easing and that kind of stuff through this window here. Breakout to new highs, so now you go A, B, C, D. And I know there's a lot of site members who have been thinking that kind of A, B, C, D. Thinking, we probably, if we just do a really simple measurement. Do-do-do, boo-boo. There to there. And, all right, so interesting how that on a, non-adjusted basis. I actually painted that upside objective. That's interesting. I think I've told you before, what I like to do is actually have this symmetrical even off of the log charts, but it does make it a bit difficult to draw. So you got to take your thumb and your forefinger, and then you got to replicate that off of the low. So there is my thumb off of the low, which means that we have to head up to right about here for that high. Which again is that kind of thinking up into that area up there. So actually, too, I also like that for we go boobity-boo. And then right along that line there. Interesting. So, believe it or not, and then also, too, this kind of, we're getting kind of late. There is Winnie's 2025 window out there. Maybe what we do is we sort of chop our way up into that kind of action like that. That wouldn't surprise me. So I don't know what the hell this is going to look like. Unfortunately, and it's really cool. Like, we have our professional futures traders on every Tuesday. And Kiran, he does a, stock market summary, a Bitcoin summary, a gold summary. Those are his primary futures markets that he's trading. And his general message, and it'll probably be the same on Tuesday, is, well, these sons of bitches, we just made a new high there a week or so ago. What is this? This is a monthly chart. So we just made a new high there in August. This is now September. So, on a monthly basis, you won't even get a sell signal until you get that 3-bar fractal, and then October's bar has to open up and go through whatever the low is here. So there won't be any sell signal here per se anytime soon. And you can see every time, look at 3-bar fractal, nope, new high. 3-bar fractal, nope, new high. So there just isn't any sell signal here yet. And, the Fed, old man Powell and stuff, he's basically said that he's going to keep propping up the market. You're still going to have your runaway price inflation at the grocery store. Get used to it. But there's no way in hell they're going to let the stock market and stock equity valuations and prices let them collapse. So Merry Christmas. The only, and here's the $64,000 question through all of this. What was it? Was it actually engineered by an individual to cause this, or was this something beyond the control of the money masters? And I would say this was beyond the control of the money masters. And down in here, the money masters were like, oh boy, we got some serious problems. You better get all those U.S. citizens to agree to take on a whole bunch more new debt, because if not, this whole damn thing's going to collapse. So Mr. Right-wing U.S. citizen goes, well, should we maybe debate mortgaging our kids' future, destroying our standard of living, all this? And, of course, everybody goes, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. So money masters got what they wanted. Market's gone back up. But, what I do find interesting about the money masters is they said, Yellen has said repeatedly, this is not sustainable, what's going on here. But they weren't going to demand that there be belt tightening and there be, my hunch is, you Americans, I think you're going to have to get used to a smaller U.S. military. Because I would imagine at a certain point, the banksters are going to say, well, we told you this wasn't sustainable. We weren't going to shit on you when everything was down on its knees. Mr. Powell has said that repeatedly, that he wasn't. He was saying this has to be fixed, i.e., you have to stop spending so much money that you don't have. But we're not going to do it when everybody's unemployed. So notice the job numbers are all coming back. Stock market's feeling uppy. Could we get another shock to the system here? And the way I'm looking at this right now is, number one, absolutely, V bottoms have to be tested. You see, this was a V bottom. At some point, that had to be tested. This was a V bottom. At some point, this had to be tested. So the question here is, who causes this? If it's, and frankly speaking, I'm a little disappointed in our society. This is where I get all the downvotes and people get angry at me. I can't believe people are so cavalier about going to these professional sports events, 100,000 people in the fucking stadium. And if you just do the math, right, just pure... Remember, I'm a statistics guy. I live by statistics. 66% of the time, right? I'm going to be wrong 33% of the time. I live by those numbers. So... I mean, you do the math, right? If they say that there's a 1 or 2% mortality rate, well, then that means if you have a stadium of 100,000 people, 1% of that is 1,000 people in that crowd are going to die. And really, if it's 2-3%, 3,000 of those people are going to die. It's shocking how cavalier people are. I mean, me personally, no, I haven't changed any of my behavior. I'm still a hermit. I will always be a hermit regardless. But when I go out with Liam, we stay in the car. We don't interact with the other humans. I do fill up the pump at the gas station, but I make damn sure to wipe my hands afterward. I can't believe how cavalier. And, I'm moving in with Andrew, right? And he's doing all his crazy dance parties and stuff like this. And his attitude is like, nah, COVID's over. Nah, it's over. It's like, oh, Andrew, come on. Am I setting myself up for disaster here? I don't know. But if anything, I was pleased. Number one, also two, I am fully vaxxed. So I have to be with Liam. Liam's fully vaxxed. I don't know. Is that it, Andre? Is that it? The public believes vax protects them 100%. So all those people that were at that stadium, they were all vaxxed? If that's the case and it's no big deal, then maybe I'm just tilting at windmills. I sure hope so. Yeah, and then somebody says here the mortality rate is 0.02%. I think it's got to be higher than that. I know the flu alone is pretty high. So, but anyway, that's here nor there. So, maybe I'm just tilting at windmills, but when I see this, it just feels as though in about 2 or 3 weeks, and that's how long it took last time, this Delta variant thing is running rampant here in BC. And then somebody here says the Mu variant is also not very nice. I can't believe that we're just done. It doesn't make sense to me. And what I'm really worried about is, if we have to go into shutting down, and that's probably going to watch this trend line, this dotted line, really closely. My hunch is that's probably the line in the sand here. But if we do have to go down in that regard, there's no reason why we can't come all the way back down to these levels. So, with that said, I do have some insurance on the books. And if anything, we really don't want this to happen. If anything, let's hope to God that that was as bad as it was and we don't have another massive shutdown. Because if we do, in my opinion, it definitely means that we're probably going to have another 50% dilution of the currency and, much more rampant price inflation. And ironically enough, in a weird sort of way, what are you saying there, Julian? No YouTube link. Oh, really? Have I not been YouTubing? I think I've been YouTubing. All those people are over there on YouTube, so I must be doing something right. I'm not quite sure. Where do I get the YouTube link? Maybe over here. Copy. Paste. Boom. In the lounge. There you go. In an army. You can swing this. I don't think Julian uses the rocket shot, though, so... if he doesn't have the rocket shot, I guess I don't know. Okay, Nick Howden says, personally, I don't. Here in the UK, they have been proven to be lying time after time. Your natural immunity is best. Eat life like you live, like your life depends on it, because it does. Hmm. Yeah, and the interesting thing, of course, is anytime you mention this sort of stuff, it instantly ignites a wildfire of controversy. But to me, it feels like, I used to tell people this. This is the way I look at it, right? So this is the way. Let's say you and I are standing beside each other, right? We're standing on the ground. Do 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 do. And I tell you, over the past 10 years, I have not flown in an airplane once. And I have no plans to ever fly in an airplane the rest of my life. What are the statistical odds of me dying in a plane crash? I'd say pretty low. Versus, like my old man, for example, he was basically a traveling salesman. So he lived on airplanes. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to die. And, I don't think he died. I don't really interact with him too much anymore. But I don't think he passed away. In fact, I thought it was interesting. I saw about a month or so ago he followed me on Facebook, which I thought was very odd. But he and I had a bit of a falling out there after JoJo's passing. But that's here nor there. Anyway, he used to live on airplanes, and it doesn't necessarily mean he's gonna die. But if we're standing there side by side, going, what's the odds of him dying in an airplane crash? I'd say probably statistically much higher than myself, and that's sort of the way I look at all of this. You go to a big sports stadium full of people. You're flirting with disaster. You isolate yourself. You try to limit the amount of contact you have with these other humans. Well, I think you're setting yourself up for success. Doesn't guarantee anything. It just seems to me people just going willy-nilly to the sports stadiums with 100,000 people, knowing that this is a statistics game. There is going to be, in 100,000 pool people, there is going to be somebody in there that is sick with that sickness. There's no way in hell that could not be the case. That's like, 1,000 winning trades in a row. It just doesn't happen. So that's the way I look at it. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but that's the way I live my life. I don't see why you should thumb your nose at disaster. But at the same time, too, I have put options on the books. I am short Canadian bank stocks. I don't necessarily expect the market to collapse, but if it does, I've got a bunch of ways that if the market does break here, I'm good to go. And frankly speaking, I don't. I'm disgusted. I ranted about Barbie there a little while ago, right? I'm absolutely disgusted at what's happened here in the Canadian equity market. And I believe, to be perfectly honest with you, that these Canadian banks actually have gotten away with a little bit of, borderline criminal behavior, especially if you're a Canadian citizen. Because keep in mind, they're only motivated by profit. That's the only thing that motivates them. So I find it interesting that the market itself, look at this price chart, first and foremost. This is supposed to be a staid, quiet, conservative investment. This is the 20-year bull market of Canada. This price here, that's $5 a share on a relative basis. Keep in mind, this has gone way, way, way further back. This stock's been around forever. And here we are. That's That's over a tenfold increase. This is a bank. A bank? Banks are not supposed to grow like this, especially chartered corporations that basically have an absolute guaranteed business model. They will never go out of business. They are too big to fail in our country. And yet they're fucking raping the public with this profits. Keep in mind, the only reason why the stock's going up is because of more earnings, right? All that kind of shit. So I get the distinct impression, and this is where TRI totally shines. And I haven't really talked too much to you guys on the video here today, but I'll quiz you, everybody. What is that chart pattern right there? That one bar. If you don't know what this is, then and you fancy yourself a trader, you better get your butt in our school program. Just quit screwing around. Thank you, Andre. And the best part about this, well, best part, it's been a bit of a torture test, I'll tell you that much, butt crackers. But theoretically, TRI is almost on the cusp of basically being able to sell you this as a service that you will get the notifications of these chart patterns happening in your email for a nice, of course, polite fee. Almost every week we get a running commentary from Sjord. How we doing, Sjord? Are we getting any closer? So, pop on the site tomorrow. Of course, if you're in the school program, get your butt in here and you got to start learning and put your education cap on. But Sjord does a presentation on Monday mornings, giving us an update on how the prognostication, the system is, how close we are to actually being able to sell this product. I teased everybody over the past few months with stuff like this. The signaling system was spitting up this, and we're still in beta. I mean, I'll tell you, I took this trade, so I'm short. But in a weird sort of way, aside from that, and, honestly, the model that Sjord's created here, he's going to be a billionaire. Really, I don't know whether Julian's still here. My advice to you, Julian, is just stay nice and chummy with Sjord. Let's both ride his coattails as hard as we can. I mean, not only does Sjord pick insane cryptocurrencies, Sjord got us to pile in on this thing. Well, not that. That's a shitty stock. Why would you want to own stock when you can own cryptocurrencies and they do that? Anyway, but also too, Sjord's got this platform. It's almost there. I mean, it's so funny. We have a running joke on this site. Never been closer. Never been closer. But we're almost there. And actually, Sjord even asked for your input, everybody on the site, especially our OGers, if you could give us feedback on those various different membership packages that we're sort of contemplating and how we set this whole darn thing up. And if anything, it's great that Sjord's at that stage, because that means he's just putting the sort of final finishing touches on the different membership programs. So if you could, if Sjord did reach out to you, Shark Toshi, I know for certain he asked you. Graham, probably Julian too. All those sort of site OGs. If he did ask you, I'd love for you to get your feedback, because as soon as he's ready to go, the sooner we can get this thing all off the ground and we can start trading this shit. But just to give you an idea, like this is sort of the way I'm kind of thinking. I'd like to see the story develop. We'll see how it goes. But I have like a signals page here. This would be sort of like more advanced membership. And then, I just can get nice little summaries of what's happening here. And you can see bullish key reversals. Really, man, I would do yourself a favor and just take a screenshot of that. And there you go. That's interesting. Look at that. The energy sector ETF volatility tool is actually spitting out a bullish key reversal. So is energy prices about to go insane here? The VIX on the Goldman Sachs VIX equity index. Isn't that fascinating? So, interesting. We were just talking about the potential of the sickness getting out of control. And then we, lo and behold, we look here and we can see that the stock market proxies for things getting out of control. They're all spitting up buy signals. That's not a good sign. That's got to be a bit of a warning. Oh yeah, look at that huge move. Actually, interesting. So it started out as a huge collapse, but then they calmed down at the end. Wow, look at that beautiful reversal. What's that? Core Laboratories NV. Wow, that's pretty. That looks like a harmonic pattern. CBOE VIX on Goldman Sachs. Isn't that interesting? There's a VIX index on Goldman Sachs, I wonder. Let's see what that looks like. Because keep in mind, right, I hate the banks right now. So, you know, this is my bank put. And probably the volatility index on this thing is probably going up quite a bit too. The interesting thing about this trade is I can actually start to see David O's pattern here. It's kind of a sloppy one, but hopefully you can see. Sure looks like we got like head and shoulders forming here. We don't know where that neckline is, though. It's interesting how that's kind of an anomaly. Fascinating in there, eh? I don't know where you go off of. But, gee whiz, that looks interesting, eh? So if this does play out as a head and shoulders, targets, and, you know, big juicy gap, so what a surprise. But I guess the point that I was trying to make to you guys earlier is Canada, in my opinion, is a sell. And ironically enough, Canada, in my opinion, will be a sell and will be a short for the next 20 years. No, maybe not 20. Probably easily out into like 2035. And, you know, with the just laughable leadership that we have right now, these people they're going to blow up the balance sheet of this country. And what I found really interesting, and nobody really paid attention to it, but like I had shown you a funny little statistic earlier that said that more than 51% of Canada is not Canadian, and they're not English, they're not Western European, they're not Chinese, they're not even Native American. Over 51. Well, who the fuck are these people? Nobody's working here. Everybody works for the government. 40-50% of Canada's GDP is the government. We have a leader right now that says that, we're just going to leave it all up to the banks. And of course, you know, what's the easiest way to leave it up to the banks? Oh, put somebody who has absolutely no history of financial management in control of the finance department. Like, what the heck is going on? And what I found really interesting was the Bloc party within Quebec that really stands up for sort of Quebec rights. They're not buying into this. And they actually have a really funny, I think they've actually even called themselves their own nation now within this country, which I found fascinating. I didn't realize it used to be they used to call Quebec what they called a distinct society. So it had sort of special privileges within the constitution of the country. That didn't really work very well, so they had to retry again, the politicians, and I think they've actually called Quebec like its own nation within Canada. So basically, the writing's on the wall that they want out. And my hunch is by the end of this cycle, the push is going to come to shove. And the worst part about it, of course, is that the guys that are running the federal show, they've completely destroyed the balance sheet, completely destroyed the net worth of the Canadian dollar, the currency, the sovereignty, all that. So the people in Quebec now are going to be like, well, we don't want to be saddled with all this debt that we never approved. So you can literally see that I can see the ground swelling of the next civil war developing in this country. And, you know, when they say that more than 51% of the population of the country is not even Canadian, and they're not having who are these people? So I could, you know, like, no offense. I look out my window here. I, as a Caucasian in this city, am actually a minority. That's not actually the way the demographics of this country break down. So, and my wife has said repeatedly when she was alive that she figured there was going to be a race war by the end of all this. Frankly speaking, I wouldn't be surprised. And I just find it interesting that the market itself, you do not get these outside downside key reversals happen every day in the market. These are very, very rare. And for that to happen on a big blue chip, I mean, keep in mind, this is a major component of the indexes in Canada. And these banks, they all move in unison. So my hunch is probably something like the Royal Bank. It probably could be in a bit of trouble here. Looks like they hung out. They were able to break the top that was in place there. I don't know what. I mean, I certainly wouldn't call that a buy. Is that worth looking at? Maybe buying a put option to capture these gap moves down here? Probably. Like I said, my proxy is TD. But all of these banks in Canada, they all look like a disaster just waiting to happen. You tell me. Are we supposed to think something if we ever see the market smiling at us? I thought this was supposed to be a bull market. So it's interesting how, let's just pop on over to Goldman Sachs and see what's going on over there. And remember, this was the screener pulled up the volatility message here and said, be careful, be careful. So the VIX on this is breaking out. You tell me, as a contrarian, is that kind of a name that maybe we think about 50% corrections? What do we call? Let's see. We want to make this an NFT. So let's see if we can do this really quickly. What do we call this level right here? And I love how Derek wanted to turn this into an NFT. I thought that was awesome. No one? Is it Bill? Bill says, no offense, but Indians. Is that who's invading our country here? Now more than 51% of the population of the country is from India? Oh, yeah. Anyway, I didn't get any answers. They're Amish, of course, DD. They're Amish. But actually, that would go into the Western European category, and there wasn't any of them in there. I mean, they had Irish, Scottish, German, French, all those categories, and then I mean, hell, I gotta show you. Maybe I'll show you in the Daily Brief tomorrow. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Right, close, Skeet Cough. Wait, but we call it the Ben Cough check, right? Because Ben. Our co-host on the Wednesday crypto show. I could very easily see us trade. Look at it. There's even a gap right there. You can even see there's a hole right on the chart right there. So you tell me, is the 1% maybe getting ready for these financial stocks to take a little punch in the nose? I don't know. Sure looks to me like we're setting up for something here. Yeah, isn't that cool? Ben Cough check. But you have to. Yeah, I think you have to spell it with a K. Yeah, but no, I gotta clean up my language, Andre. Now you noticed I swore a couple times earlier there, but I was like, oh no, you know what? I gotta clean up my act. So it's interesting how Seward's engine here is telling us to get ready for something out of Goldman Sachs here, and then you pull up the chart and you go, well, you know what? That actually makes sense. Thinking about maybe buying like I mean, look at this stock's $400 a share. I mean, how insulting is that? But a move back down to 2.5. That seems perfectly logical to me. And maybe playing the Goldman Sachs volatility proxy is a cheap way, as opposed to playing this thing. You just trade that volatility index, and actually it might even be affordable. What's the price of this thing? This thing's $30.84. That's a hell of a lot more affordable than like $200, $300, or $400 a share, right? All right, so I'm not even quite sure where I was going with all this, but you can see we've got lots of fun tools here to use, and we were just looking at the bullish ones. I wonder what the bearish ones look like here. Anything that really jumps out? I love key reversals. They're just and it's so hard to find this information anywhere. That's interesting. Look at that. S&P 500 30 delta buy right. Ay. I have no idea what the hell that is, but look at that key reversal. Bang, bang. CBOE low volatility. Well, if we're expecting high volatility, it would make sense that that would be a sell. CBOE S&P 500 put right index. Now, what the heck is that? That's interesting. Because you usually write puts if you want to buy something. So the fact that that's coming off, maybe that means people don't want to buy. Look at that. We get an outside downside key reversal on the NYSE tick index. That is cool. Now that's impressive. You don't see that every day. Wow. Now I did not expect to see that here. That is really interesting. That means that, all of the cool tools that, like the ARMS index, the put call ratio, the tick, the, all the various different breadth, the short-term trading index, all that kind of stuff. Oh, man, we could build signals off of that stuff. So cool. What do we got here? CBOE VIX tail hedge. Bang! Big sell. See you later. Oh, the Germany ETF. Look at that. Germany issuing an outside-downside sell signal there. And actually, that's probably going to be a nice bear ABCD. So actually, this is kind of a cool trade. Right? You got an outside-downside reversal. So if we tick through that low, that is a sell signal. You can see that's going to break this uptrend line. So that is technically a structural signal on the other side of the trend line. And you tell me, has this thing got any room to move down here? Holy but Jesus, look at that. What a signal. That is sick. I mean, the funny thing is, guys, I love you guys all dearly. But if we build this, and it gets to the point where it's issuing signals like this that you see here, like that, on this German index, and you can see these gaps all the way down here. This is basically an advisory service for the world. This subscription service, this could be like a $10,000 a year subscription service, $1,000 a month. Institutional trading desk, subscribe to this. I mean, look at this fucking shit. This is what the man wants. They don't want the public to see this kind of information. I can tell you, man, this is so next level. All right, Brian's getting totally off topic. So, with regard to the screeners, never been closer. We're so close. At some point, we're gonna change the world. We just gotta wait for Sjord and his minions. We're so close. All right. FYI, had a lot of people. I do a lot of these videos, and a lot of people were kind of like, when are you actually going to do some like Bitcoin analysis and actually give us something that's sort of half decent to use here, information-wise? So actually, what I did, let's see if I can find it here. It was initially created as a private video, and then I changed it to public, but I didn't really sort of publish it. But if you want a really nice, and actually it was kind of fun because really there was no audience or anything. I was yesterday, maybe the day before, and I was just sitting around, just not really doing much. I was like, what the heck? I'll do a video of Bitcoin. So here is that video. So if you want to go and watch a good hour and a half summary of Bitcoin price action and levels and stuff that I'm watching, there's the video there. So I'll put that in the Hangout as well. So that's there if you want to watch it. So I'm not going to really go into too much corn here, especially higher time frames. If you want to, like I said, that was a good hour and a half. Video I did there a couple days ago. So, the information started the monthlies, weeklies, dailies. So that should still be perfectly, applicable in this market. We'll just finish off with just a quick boo at lower time frame here. Nothing really to get too excited about. And actually, you know what? I did a video just specifically, I think. Is this it? No. I thought I had a... somewhere in all this mess. Oh yeah, here we are. Too many charts. Okay. So in that bigger video, I did the monthlies. Came up with some pretty crazy ass upside objectives if we all go insane here. Dailies or weeklies, unfortunately, I think right now the weekly market is stuck in a trading range. So our spring peak was the top end of the range. That late spring, early summer bottom was the bottom end of your range, and all we're doing is just sort of banging around back and forth in this range right now. Not really getting a momentum signal one way or the other. So, just hurry up and do nothing trend-wise. Dailies, I had said in the video, all the momentum indicators are still pointing down right now, and fresh M's, so there's no reason to be bullish here whatsoever. Yeah, I was interested in that, Andre, and I made reference to that earlier. That I don't know whether you noticed that the Chinese government came out, and I think they're going to just basically cut him a check for $300 million. So it's a really good analogy, Andre. I don't know whether you heard me earlier when I was talking about, Andre just says there, what about that Evergrande group in China and how that will affect the market? And remember I had said earlier that through that whole 2007 meltdown here, George Bush and all his cronies and stuff, they were all in charge of the U.S. government through here, and they did absolutely nothing. Nothing! So that's why the market collapsed. Same thing here. And through this period, basically, that's George Bush Jr., 9/11, all that. They didn't do anything here. And what was really interesting is through 9/11, I remember distinctly, and that was right there, Alan Greenspan said, well, let's hope that this let's hope that the economic fallout of what's happening here because of the terrorist events is a footnote in history. When actually I would argue that that actually was the catalyst that set the stage for all of this. So it's how ironic, eh? Because half the time, especially, I told you about Powell and the way that he's artificially aged here. I mean, these people are blatantly lying to us. And that's probably why they age so badly, is because their souls are just being eaten alive here. So, point of the matter here is government could have very easily come in and stopped this. Very easily. Government could have very easily come in and stopped this. And what was fascinating was, like I told you earlier, 87, government literally came in at right here and stopped the selling, and in essence that created that. You can make the argument in 1995, 1996, you don't even really see it here. But through this period here, the Asian markets collapsed. I guess, it must have been this correction in here. It was called the Asian contagion. And actually, this was the 7 tigers of Asia. But in essence, the British handed over Hong Kong. And if you look at any Chinese markets, they just absolutely collapsed. And that's probably what's going to happen, is that the Asian markets are going to collapse following that 2025 event. Belt and Road, building all that shit out. Winnie the Pooh's basically said that's exactly when they're going to that's what they're doing, the whole 5-year plan, socialist dream. Fucking mafioso. So my hunch is that the news, and I don't know whether you saw the news, somebody keep it up, but basically that Bond King guy says, oh yeah, turns out Chinese government's just going to come and nationalize the debt, whatever. So make no mistake about it, when the government wants to put the bottom in the market, bottom goes in instantly. And like I said, through this period here, what was really interesting, like you have to really see I don't even know if you can see it anymore because it was so long ago. But they had, oh no, I guess it's not called the China Fund. And I really don't want to get rid of that chart. Let's do a new one here. And this is what I think's going to happen. Like any of you remember Busang Peninsula? It's basically the same story. Let's see if we can, whoops, can't do it there. Let's see if we can even get a price quote. It's incredible how the 1% makes sure that we can't even get this data to analyze this. So that was back here. Yeah. So this was the Asian, and actually they called it the Asian contagion. Interesting how this thing eventually bottomed right at that dot-com boom time period, eh? So China literally bottomed the day that the NASDAQ topped. Well, I guess the NASDAQ topped in here. But point here was they bid the market up. This was called the Seven Tigers of Asia, this move here. And Indonesia did really well. South Korea, Japan, the Seven Tigers, that's what they called them. Then somebody go up and look in history, do a quick Google search. Somebody tell me what was the date that Hong Kong was transferred from British rule to Chinese rule. Somebody tell me that. I'll put it on the charts here and you'll go, holy shit. So, point here is what was fascinating through this, and I guess nobody knows the answer, so I guess I'll have to look it up. Hong Kong transferred 1898? No, not that long ago. From UK to China rule. Date was handover. There we go. July 1997. Yeah, and I remember the summertime. So, where is our China fund? Where the hell was that? Did I just get rid of it? Oh, that's weird. Sorry. Went on to, there we go, right here. So, July 1997. Where's that? June? July. What do you think? Can you see what happened here? It's remarkable. Do you think this market was bid up into that event to make sure everything stayed nice and happy? And then, literally, the day it was done, they pulled the carpet out from underneath everybody. And what was fascinating was through this, right? And this, ironically enough, this is where long-term capital management got into trouble. So you can almost see that long-term capital management had too much China exposure. They got wiped out. But what was fascinating down here was a little bureaucrat. She weighed maybe like, 70, 80 pounds, soaking wet. Came on Nightly Business Report, and it'd be actually interesting to go get the date. But down in here, there was a big counter-trend rally off of the lows here. And it caught everybody off guard, and everybody's like, all right, well, that must be the bottom. And she came on, she was a little Chinese bureaucrat, and she was like, we punish the speculators. So you could actually make the argument that the Chinese government themselves pulled the carpet out. It led to what this was called the Asian contagion. And like Koreans were running out into the streets and throwing their silverware into the streets to defend the Korean currency and stuff like that. That's how serious it was. Do you think any of you are going to take all your jewelry and your silverware and stuff and just go blindly hand it to the government to defend the U.S. dollar here, or the Canadian dollar? Would any of us do that right now? Yeah, right. That's how serious the Koreans are about their freedom, man. They will literally self-sacrifice. They did. That put the bottom in the market, and away we go. But I would make the argument that the whole damn thing was a fugazi. Chinese pulled the carpet out after the Hong Kong transfer. They wanted to basically wash out all the whiteys, get them the hell out of Hong Kong. And then once the big sell was in and everybody was panicking and dumping, they came in and just bought everything up and put the floor in the market. So the point I'm trying to make about all of this is when governments want to, they put the floor in any market. And I just showed you about 4 or 5 examples. There should not be any debate about this whatsoever. And the irony of it all is that governments actually let these quote-unquote crashes happen. It is exactly what happened in 87 with the American market. Right? Exactly what happened in 2007, 2008 with the American market. There's no difference here. In this particular case, George Bush Jr. just sat there and he did nothing. And he just watched the whole fucking thing just collapse. And it wasn't until the new guy came in and said, right, fine, the U.S. government's going to bail everybody out. We're going to set the floor in the market. And what does the market do? It's really that simple. Please, everybody, you got to learn this. Okay, so Andre totally derailed me there for about 10, 15 minutes, but what do you think? Was that worth the derailment? You got to understand, the governments control this whole damn thing. It's all a joke until the governments came in and say, okay, enough is enough. Okay, all right, so just to finish off, little quick boo at crypto and the corn and stuff. Head off into the afternoon, get ready for Liam. If you need that longer time frame perspective, go watch that video that I did. Looked at the monthlies, looked at the weeklies, looked at the dailies. The end result was this 4-hour chart. And I didn't go into 4-hour because I didn't really want to go into that on that video. So if anything, really good sort of dovetail coming out of that sort of, daily, weekly, monthly look. What's the situation now? So, no doubt about it. Gee whiz, we had a huge rally off the lows here through the summer. I mean, come on. Problem here, of course, is people get lulled into a false sense of security here through the summer. They think this is just the way valuations are. Then everybody comes back after the summer break, and the professionals go, gee whiz, the kids sure bid up prices. Maybe we should take some profits. And, of course, look who's sitting right there. He's been sitting there at $51,030 literally since the middle of June. This guy gets hit constantly. Probably one of the best pit traders I ever knew in my life. And as calm as shit. And, of course, that's the guy who basically was passing around the Alan Greenspan, the worst villain in U.S. history. Wanted dead or alive kind of signs. And interestingly enough, as the years have gone by, I think I got to agree with him now. I think these banksters, ironically enough, they're technically U.S. citizens, but I don't think they really give a shit about the U.S., the United States of America proper. I don't think they care. And, it's fascinating listening to these bankers because all they do is they just talk about interest. Nobody's ever talking about actually paying off the debt. And actually, just think about it. You run around with a whole shitload of debt and all you're doing is scrambling to make the interest payments? Is that playing from a position of strength? Or is that playing from a position of weakness? We all know the answer. So, the banksters have the United States of America in a position of weakness right now. And unfortunately, like I said, nobody's really in a position to even say boo to these people, which just is so tragic. Our solution, of course, has been, maybe we use Bitcoin to get out of the system. And I have heard more and more people that were adamant fans of the United States really believe, like guys like Stanley Druckenmiller, these guys manage billions, if not trillions of dollars. They're starting to seriously lose faith in the United States of America. This is scary. They look at what these banksters are doing and they're just like, this is criminal. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. So, What a surprise! Now we're seeing, of course, now all the institutional players like, you know what, this Bitcoin's not such a bad idea. What I would warn you about, though, is, probably the easiest way to think about this, and you're not going to like this, guys, I'm sorry, but I remember this period right here where there were university professors, very smart, schooled individuals, who made fun of people thinking that this bull market would never end. So, I teach in the school program. I remember distinctly watching the president of a Canadian tech company, and the company itself represented 35% of the entire Canadian equity market, which made no sense whatsoever. He was actually laughed at by university professors because he said, look at, I'm selling, I got to sell my stock, I got to retire, I got to get the hell out of this is crazy. And I think we're in exactly the same kind of environment. I could sit here and I could go, Bitcoin is somewhere up in this kind of topping phase here. And I remember the last cycle with Bitcoin when, and it was, remember, Brian, please, everybody, I don't mean to toot my own horn because, frankly speaking, anybody on this site knows that I don't really have a high opinion of myself. I let my wife fucking slip through my fingers. So I'm not a horn tooter kind of person. But, I distinctly remember warning people through that last Bitcoin orgy. Trying to show you where's the best place to show you this. Just distinctly warning people that, and the worst part about it is, I was calling people bimbos and stuff. What are you? You throwing your money at the market? What are you, stupid? People wouldn't listen, though. And sure enough, top of the market, then it had to, if anything, what we kind of want if you are a crypto bull is you want a straight line move up and then a straight line move right back down. But in a weird sort of way, I don't think actually that's going to happen this go round. I think what they're going to do is they're going to jack this thing to just staggering levels. This is going back and, this is kind of the video talking there. So I won't say too much more here. Where is that chart? That's not this one. That's over here. Right? Nope. That's where I just was. Wait a minute. Over here? Yeah. I mean, believe it or not. And, if the sickness gets going again, I mean, in a weird sort of way, this is just going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because, they've jacked the economy up here. I mean, they've thrown a shitload of money. Of course, the cost of everything in the society has just exploded higher. So it's not really like it's real growth. But they've got the price of everything back up again. But if we have another sickness that shuts the economy down again, well, it's basically like square one. Gonna have to go and dilute the currency again with another big, trillions of dollars of phony baloney made up money. And, price of your loaf of bread doubles again. Yeah, more stimmies, right? You can see it coming. So, it's ironic that guys like Willy Woo and stuff are like, gee whiz, we're going to get some insane rally peak into the end of this cycle. But in a weird sort of way, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I can see it playing itself out. It's like a train wreck moving in slow motion. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's almost like it has to happen. It's so sad. So I don't know what the hell this looks like, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like I said, professional sports teams, sickness, it's not going to show up today or tomorrow. It usually takes a good couple weeks for this stuff to hit in. And then all hell's going to start breaking loose. And I could easily see, this is that Silk Road reversal action, but I could easily see, a whole risk market get whacked really hard here, and then in comes a new big stimulus package, And then people are like, they've completely lost faith in the Federal Reserve System. The currency itself is collapsing, and Bitcoin just absolutely goes parabolic to the upside. I could easily see that happen. So get ready and be diversified. But in the short term, and that's what I really wanted to try and speak to you here, I think that we're kind of trapped in this trading range that I showed in the video off the weekly charts, that kind of stuff, right? I've been sort of touting this message publicly, but actually I think the other chart's a little bit easier to talk off of. The question is, where the hell did I put it? Over here. Yeah. So as long as we're still painting M's and there's no signs of W's here, there's no hurry on the long side. Remember I showed you that kind of funny, 2013 kind of weird sort of, we went sideways, then we broke to the downside, and then we went up to the upside. And that's what I'm kind of thinking should happen here. But in the short term, I don't see a hell of a lot to get excited about here. Did I have that 4-hour chart? I thought I did. No, maybe it's gone. I don't see it here. So I guess we'll just go off of this. So 4 hours. Well, maybe did I? Yeah, there we go. 4 hours. All right. Phew. Okay, so I kind of think that there was a bottom that came out of the summer. It's a nice counter-trend rally. Rallied into levels that you would expect resistance to come in. We're above value here, so not really a big surprise. It's actually a top of value if we look at this whole range, and sure enough, they knocked it back down. Usually, these price corrections are sort of two-legged. So, ironically enough, usually there's one leg and then there's a second leg. Doesn't have to play out this way, don't get me wrong, but usually these things move in, this is a A, B, C, D harmonic pattern. And I did find it interesting that if you go A, B, C, D, lo and behold, that'll take us right into a mountain man level. Remember we said, mountain man level was traded to here, and that stopped the bull. Could mountain man trade down to here, stop the bear? Sure, makes sense to me. Don't know whether I'm really thinking that this thing's going to collapse here. I think there was enough buying interest all sort of established all through here that at the very least we should get some back and forth here. You can see, look at all these people long down here. So I wouldn't be surprised if price has to slam down into these levels. And of course, on that dump, it's going to be like Bitcoin's down $5,000. Ah! And ironically enough, we're dumping into buying levels. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So in the short term, my message is just simply we use 38.2s to sort of establish our expectations going forward. And if I look at this range from this low, right, up to that high. Oops, come on you. This is so frustrating. And we go 38.2. Boom. Notice, hey, look at that. That's where price stopped. So what I used to tell people, and I haven't really done it on the site too much lately, but what this looks to me like is what we call a 38.2 ping pong match. So if we remove a lot of this stuff, these are assumptions. So if we just look at what's actually happening here, you see market stabbed into 38.2, then dead cat bounce right back to 38.2. And we're just going back and forth. That's it. Just boing, 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 boing. Nice to see we got a little bit of a W that came in here through the weekend. The only problem with that, of course, is, weekend trade. The adults aren't here, right? So they're gone. So Again, think A, B, C, D. I sure like a stab down into this area here. But I can't even really suggest what's going to happen until we resolve either, and now you can see if we use trend lines, we can draw a nice little trend line, boobity-boo. Notice 38.2. And you can draw a trend line here, boobity-boo. And notice 38.2. So what'll end up happening here is if we can punch up through this trend line, right, this here, then what that really says is, okay, we've stopped the down move, and now maybe we're just in a trading range. So if that's the case, then we should expect rallies back up top here. And it kind of makes sense too, right? Horizontal support and resistance. We can definitely expect this high as resistance, right? Notice that there. What do you think the odds are that that level right there is a reload short zone of that entire range? I'd say probably pretty good. So if we take our range, right? Let's go be nice and precise. There's 38.2s. And reload zones, boom. Look at that, almost perfect. So if we can accept back above 38.2s, except above this trend line, then odds are we're probably going to work our way back up here. And if we're lucky, I think I even mentioned this in the video, maybe we start doing things like setting up bullish bots, where A, B, C, D takes us way up top. That's what this is, right? So that would be AB, right? That's this measurement, A to B, and project that off of whatever this low is, and that's where we should think upside. You can see the bot level, gee whiz, there it is there. You want to try and sneak in around that teal line there, right? 25 there. That's a big assumption. I don't know whether it has that in the tank, because the problem here is you look at the internals. They're not really compelling here. This is, if anything, this looks like a reaction, sort of dead cat bounce off of a violent spike down. And if anything, what I'm worried about when I look at a chart like this is what happens when these momentum moves exhaust themselves and they start actually looking like kind of Emmy. Oh boy, be careful, right? I could very easily see that, you can see she's pushing up, so she's not broken yet, but I could see push up, then push up, right? We've accepted back, testing up the top end of the range again, but this does not make a new high. And then, we got divergence working here. So, I hate it when momentum looks like that. There's just nothing I can do with that. And like I said, if anything, thinking that this is usually a continuation pattern, A, B, C, D, and also thinking, too, that continuation pattern, A, B, C, D, would take us down into a mountain man level, which would be quite agreeable for trade location. That's actually what I'm thinking. Now, I suppose this is Wing, so there's no hurry here to step in front of this. As soon as all these things start emming out, then I would start thinking, look to the downside. Maybe that happens sort of beginning of retail trade. They Monday morning, we'll see how the futures act and stuff on the open. But I would prefer, if I'm going to play this, I would actually prefer that I get market structure signal on the other side of this trend line, not down here. Right now, this is still just 38.2 ping pong for me. So, can't really be thinking uppy until we get on the other side of this. There's got to be some work done here. And then downy, technically we do have one high, two highs. We have a double top working there. So we could actually be thinking bearish bot. The only issue with thinking bearishly here is we're just starting to break down. So it would be aggressive, right? So that would be sort of like AB. Bot setup, at least, it's always backwards. I think I even said that in the video. What time is it? 12:30. I got to get out of here soon. So we'll just finish off with this. Bearish bot, 33, minimum 33, no more than 66. One high, two highs, three highs. And if we start to get like Emmy action up here, oh boy, that's looking pretty darn compelling. Now, it'd be interesting to see where that bot short level comes in. That would be sort of like boobity boo, and then boobity shmoo. Haha. So interesting. You can even see right now. Look how there's the short level. You can even see. Look at that M is basically set up right off of that level. And look at the war that happened here. So clearly, this is a monstrous level in here. Lot of fighting. I don't even really like this trade because what you're probably going to find is it stabs down into here and then jackknifes back up. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So, ironically enough, there's sort of the same thing that I said Friday when I did the video of the higher time frames. There's really nothing for a guy like me to do here right now. This is we're just caught in no man's land. If anything, I think the way I would prefer to look at this is give me this this A, B, C, D move down here. And then show me signs of divergence down here. You know, maybe a nice div in your momentum indicators here. And then a nice W in price to get me back on the long side, thinking that big honking bullish bot this move here, looking for a stab up into this area down the road. That's actually what I would prefer to hunt right now. But actually looking at taking a trade right here, right now through this, no, ugly, ugly, ugly. Couldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So that's kind of why I didn't really want to do anything more following that daily analysis. But at the same time, too, people are probably like, well, you know, can you at least show us what you're seeing off the lower time frames? And so there you go. Okay, I'm going to leave the video at that for today. As we said, we have the new school program starting up here soon. If half of what I just said to you is just like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Then maybe just get your butt into school and learn this thing called the process. Where's the website? Nope, it's not over there. I don't know what the hell I did with it. Oh, it's over here. I see. No, it isn't. Okay. Or maybe just stare at a funny guy's background screen. I thought I had the website up here. Hey, there we go. Where are we here? Thought I had, well, I guess we can do this page here. So we got the school program starting up there in literally a day and a half. David's been doing some fantastic write-ups. Really proud of the work. Everybody actually, I'm quite surprised to see chaos in the world, and yet everybody on TRI seems to be really laser beam focused. For those people that are interested in the Hawaiian adventure, we do have Sebastian working feverishly away on the NFT. As soon as he's ready to give a presentation, and I really like that idea of creating that not-for-profit organization and building sort of a global model for these campuses and satellites. So keep that in the back of your mind. As well, too, I was even contemplating, I'm not quite sure how I want to do this, but what I really liked, oh darn, I can't see it now, is those little, those funny little images that Mr. Mo put together eons ago. I was so proud of him for doing that. This might also be another way for us to fund that that Hawaiian retreat idea that we have. And the reason why I like Hawaii, just in particular, is I love getting long U.S. dollars and U.S. dollar denominated real estate. And, I hate to say it, guys, but the price that we can get this lot for, they're basically giving it away. I mean, it's right on the ocean. I mean, it's ridiculous how cheap the property is. Like 9 acres for $700,000. It's just nuts. So that's why I'm so excited about this project. But at the same time, too, that's just project number 1. I mean, really, our goal for this project should have all of these campuses all around the world. And I want it as a not-for-profit so that you don't feel as though TRI's got some sort of profit motive. TRI will do perfectly fine on its own. Like I said, Sjord's going to own the world by the time he's done this, but I'm not allowed to talk like that anymore. Sjord's poor, he sucks, he's stupid. But trust me, subscribe to the site key reversal screeners that he built with my help, and you'll make tons of money. So go figure that one out. But point here is everybody's firing on all cylinders. The school program, you guys, so proud of everybody. I gotta say, I'm really, really proud of all of you. Kiran and Daniele are working on just the most killer day trader educational program you can imagine. It's so next level. I tell you, the future is really, really bright for us here. So what I was kind of thinking of is maybe as a way to help promote this NFT, because I'd really like to help it get off the ground, is, I don't know whether I can show you this or not, but what I'd really like to do is see if we can, see if maybe we can auction Mr. Mo's artwork off as NFTs, and help fund that. Maybe that's another way we can use this, but all of Mr. Mo's awesome artwork. I know people get really fun chuckles and stuff out of these things. Maybe that's a way we can help raise the money. So if anybody's interested in trying to help that auction process, I know Kiran helped me get the other NFTs on that Foggenbaum NFT on that OpenSea thing. I wouldn't mind doing up all of these as well. Also, too, Ben, he did up a song that I thought would be so cool to NFT, Benkoff check, all that kind of stuff. But the problem is Ben used a copyright music, so I played it in this show that we had there on Wednesday. No, not this one. This one here, I played it, but I got all these notices and stuff. Hey, you're breaking the law. Or, we're gonna steal your revenue, whatever your Google makes. We're taking it. So I had to actually take the song out. So Ben, maybe we could find a background beat for that music that you did that's not copyrighted, so we could actually NFT that as well, because it was so cool what he did. So anyway, okay, so lots of stuff on the hopper, lots of stuff on the go here at TRI, and of course, I mean, I don't know where the hell the end of this crypto move is. I've told you guys repeatedly that I am thinking about taking some serious profits into the end of the year if Bitcoin does decide to go absolutely batshit crazy. And believe it or not, I know it sounds crazy, but I think my technical target now has to be this. If we hold these lows in here, my technical target has to be, what is that, $346,000 for a goddamn Bitcoin. Crazy. So if we're really lucky and that happens, then everybody's gonna be happy, right? So, if anything, what a great note to finish off on. PMA for the win. Don't take no wooden nickels. Go slowly with all this. If you need some help building your plan, running your small business, that's what we're here for. And of course, and I loved it. Thank you, everybody. Wish me luck with Liam. Every time you guys do that, I have a really good afternoon with him. So thank you so much for that positive mental karma, and PMA for the win and all that kind of fun stuff. All right. Have yourselves a great day. All the best, and bye for now.